You know those people who comment and they say, Civvie, you can't hide from X game forever? Like, listen, that's not a thing. You've seen some of the garbage I've played. I'm not hiding. Except from Descent. Descent is not a game that passed by me. It's not something I'm unaware of. I'm very aware of Descent. We had Descent 1 and 2 and 3 and Free Space in the house while I was growing up, and I played Descent 1, 2, and 3, and not Free Space, because I don't care. If you want a Descent 3 video, please leave a comment asking me to play Shade Wrath of Angels. So there's these two guys, right, Mike Kulas and Matt Toshlag, who don't seem to have much online presence since the Kickstarter and release of Overload, the Descent spiritual successor that's actually really cool and I'd highly recommend it. It's not even the only Descent-like around. There's also Desecrators, a roguelike Descent with proc gen, because there's nothing like unpredictable sadism, am I right? So these two guys who'd spent a decent chunk of the 80s and early 90s working on flight sim games, they both end up at Looking Glass helping out on the Ultima Underworld games when they see a 3D engine that has texture mapping, and they'd been kicking around the idea of a flight sim game that was indoors but didn't have the texture mapping, because at the time doing 3D texture mapping was not very feasible. Deciding that their idea was too good to try and get it made at Looking Glass, they formed Parallax Software, where they found success with the Descent series. Descent did numbers. It was a technical marvel when it was released. True 3D, 6 degrees of freedom, and they knew exactly who they were going after.
Descent. 8-player network. 2, 4. 8 is greater than 4.
Yeah, that math checks out.
Descent. 24 enemies. 2, 18. 24 is greater than 18.
Yeah, that's technically correct.
Descent. 360 degrees of vertical rotation.
Okay, I think I get it. And it wasn't just the PC that got Descent. Oh no, PlayStation got it too. Their ads were a little different.
This is Descent. True 360-degree 3D madness. 30 gut-wrenching levels.
I'm flying around, then boom. Oh, I don't get no respect.
What? What? That is a boomer-ass reference, Descent.
You're going down.
So after Descent was successful and they did a couple of those, they renamed to Volition, which you're probably more familiar with because of Red Faction and Saints Row. And they got acquired by THQ, but then THQ went bankrupt and they got acquired by Deep Silver. Mike Kulas returned to Volition after an 8-year absence, during which he worked on Overload, which I think was underappreciated, but hey, worse things can happen. Like if all your IPs in your studio got snatched up by fucking Embracer Group? Kulas goes back to work at an Embracer-owned Volition in 2019, and the studio was working on another Saints Row game after they'd done Saints Row 4, aka the Saints Row game where you were president and the world ended, and you had simulation superpowers, and that got followed up by a story about Johnny Gat escaping hell, which is obviously where your series would go after. You know what? No, I'm not gonna get into the weeds on what happened in the last 2 Saints Row games. I'm pretty sure there was something about riding talking velociraptors at some point. After you blow up the Earth, your gang-based urban crime game doesn't really have anywhere to go, so you know what you do? You reboot it. This did not go well. And wouldn't you know it, a company with a long storied history puts out one clunker and Embracer in a move that is so disgusting that this video might get age restricted for even talking about it. Embracer folds Volition into Gearbox, sending them into the 8th circle of hell presided over by the grease demon himself, Randy. And then they eventually got closed down entirely. And it would be really cool if I could do one of these intros where I talk about the company that made the game and it doesn't end with them getting shut down or sent to the mines. I tell ya.
No respect at all.
And if that scary story wasn't enough, now I've got to play Descent. I'm using a source port called DXX Rebirth, which comes with its own issues, but mostly is fine, because it does a thing I like, which is uncapped turning with the mouse, so you don't move really, really slow. And if you think that this is cheating and that it's going to make the game too easy, well, you either haven't played Descent or you're a masochist. Now, I've beaten Descent 1 before, but I never actually beat Descent 2, and I'll tell you kids about that when we get there. Oh, yeah, and the uncapped turning and pitch adjustments are in this beta version of the port that I have that isn't available on the website anymore, which shows you how long I've been thinking about this video. So anyway, you are Material Defender, a mercenary hired by the Post-Terran Mining Corporation, and your current contact is this bald prick, who we learn in Descent 2 is named Samuel Dravis. He tells you about a virus that turns mining robots evil and that they're going to eventually invade Earth. Your hardened, cynical protagonist sarcastically thinks about his true motivations, and you're sent to your first mission on the moon. What are they mining there? Fire blue, I think. Oh, and for those of you who've been asking for a pro Descent video where I would play on the hardest skill, no, absolutely not. I'm playing on Hotshot, and even that terrifies me. Each level of Descent requires you to find keycards, destroy a reactor, and find the emergency exit. You get some intel on your adorably low-poly robot adversaries who, at this point, only fire lasers and small dodgeable missiles at you. Which is fine, as you've only got lasers and small missiles at the start. Let me tell you, every time I boot up this game and start playing, I am amazed. It is so goddamn fun to fly around, to blast things, to blow up robots, even rescuing hostages. People complained about Descent giving them motion sickness, and I can kinda understand that. It doesn't happen to me. I credit the fact that I was raised with this game in my house for my lack of motion sickness while playing games. Closest I've come is, coincidentally, playing Overload in VR. Some things are a little simpler than in Doom. Doors are all animated textures, your shield is your health, your energy is your ammo supply for weapons, which in Descent 1 is nearly all of your primary weapons. That means all 4 levels of lasers, the quad lasers, spread fire cannon, plasma cannon, and fusion cannon. The only outlier is one you collect in the first level, which is the Vulcan cannon. It fires 8 bazillion rounds per minute and is your only hit scan weapon, making it an easy way to hit things that are far away. So they balanced it by having the damage output be kinda shit compared to the other weapons. As for secondary weapons, you have 5 types of missiles. Standard concussion missiles, homing missiles, proximity bombs, smart missiles, and mega missiles. Most of these are self-explanatory, I think, except for the smart missiles, which will explode and send plasma projectiles at whatever targets in the room, making it pair nicely with the homing missiles for indirect attacks. Don't talk to me about proximity bombs, I rarely, if ever, use them. In the first level, you might not even notice the enemies being smart. The training wheels are still on, like the reactor room has a level exit in it. So when you blow it up and have 40 seconds to make it out of the mine, the trip is pretty short. Nice and easy. You get this cool cutscene of your ship exiting the exploding mine. You get one of these after every level, so they do get old, but goddamn, what a treat these were. Next couple of levels will also take place on the moon, with you continuing to gather resources, upgrade your arsenal, find secret walls, and take in the really cool design of this game. If you ever get disoriented, you can tell which way is up and which way is down, because the floors and ceilings are textured in a way that makes it pretty clear. Look at this auto map. Yes, it is kinda like Doom's auto map with its lines and colors, except it's 3D. It's so cool. The MIDI soundtrack is mostly bangers. The production value on this game is fantastic, as to be expected from people who are, by this point, kinda industry veterans. They worked at Looking Glass, for fuck's sake. For a game that came out in 1995, you might be surprised by a couple of things on this HUD. Lives and a score. Yeah, a live system in a game that lets you save anywhere. You thought we'd left all this stuff behind after Wolfenstein 3D. What's even weirder is that when you die, you don't just restart the level. Your ship explodes, leaving all your gear behind. You lose a life, but have the opportunity to go back and collect it again. Weird mechanic for a game, right? It's like the dark... You know what? Forget it. And then in level 3, you trigger your first enemy spawners. Unlike in Doom, where you'd have enemies teleport in unannounced, Descent tells you where they're going to teleport in, and you have to either avoid the invisible spawn trigger or sit and fight until the thing stops pumping out robots. It's tedious and annoying when it starts here. It gets much, much worse. Level 3 is the last lunar mission, so obviously it'll be the hardest, with the reactor room full of these hulks. Green and brown ones for the moment, the least dangerous varieties, shooting lasers and concussion missiles at you. No problem. When you destroy the reactor, the lights phase in and out, the whole level shakes, and it's harder to control your ship. And the game puts enemies in your way that were inside monster closets. I could fly past them, but I don't. I take my time, leaving me with only 4 seconds to exit the mine. Next, we head to Venus to take care of these lifters, who are fairly dangerous melee enemies who will cut right through your shields. Oh man, putting enemy spawners in the reactor room while the reactor is shooting at you? That's when I say fuck it, blow the reactor and run. I think maybe these points are what Dravis is paying us. Not gonna lie, 257k ain't enough to get me to fly around the solar system risking my life. Man, flying through these twisty tunnels, blowing shit away with my quad lasers, this is how I like to remember Descent. But then you finish Venus and jet off to Mercury. And then, these first levels of Descent are like when the guests arrive at Jurassic Park. Just fucking majestic. And then in level 5, some asshole disables the security systems and things start to go very, very wrong. This is the Red Hulk, sometimes called the Heavy Hulk or the Super Hulk. He's not the biggest Hulk in the game, but he's the worst. He can tank 4 missiles. He fires homing missiles, 2 at a time, the moment you're in his line of sight. And we're not talking homing missiles that you can easily dodge. Oh no, they're on your ass permanently. At least on this skill in this source port. There seems to be some debate about how the homing missiles are supposed to work, with one theory being that they're tied to the frame rate, meaning that if you're playing Descent on good hardware made less than 25 years ago, you are absolutely 100% fucked. Do not, I swear to God, and all that is still sacred on this blighted blue planet, go into my comments and say, just do this 12-step process that only people who've been doing nothing but playing Descent and gooning for the last 30 years know how to do. Shut up! You wanted this video to watch me suffer and you goddamn know it. The Red Hulks are Revenants on steroids, and I still don't hate them as much as... This is the Class 1 Driller. If Descent as a game had a main antagonist that was less vaguely defined than a mean virus, this is it. This is how the game teaches you about drillers, by having the first fucking one you meet be on the other side of a door just to show you that it can and will react faster than any human possibly can. And that it hit scans. And its hit scans are way more deadly than yours. Fuck! And now you're peeking around every corner trying to see them before they see you and... Send a homing missile in that direction if you can. It only takes 1 to destroy a driller, but you can't always do that. Oh hey, this next guy just has a little laser.
Look at him and tell me there's a god.
And you open a door and fire at a wimpy low-level robot, but guess what? There's a fucking driller behind him.
I'm flying around, then boom. Oh, I don't get no respect.
The story of my life, no respect. I don't get no respect at all.
No respect. No respect. No respect. No respect.
You're going down.
No respect. No respect.
No respect. No respect at all.
You're going down, 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 down.
No respect. No respect.
You see this? This is why I don't ever finish a Descent playthrough. I get to like level 9 and say fuck it because this game was designed by sickos and perverts. This is a lot of what the game is going to be like. Sure, the levels get more complex, although emergency exits aren't usually a problem if you find them before blowing up the reactor and you can mark them on your map. The abject fucking cruelty. Hit scanners that are worse than chain gunners, and missile spammers that are worse than revenants. Post-Terran Mining Corporation? More like Plutonia Mining Corporation. This is the middle difficulty, kids. You have power-ups, invulnerability, and more commonly cloaking devices, but you can't be cloaked all the time. This clip is from much later, but you open this door and there's a Red Hulk here, and before you can even possibly register that he's behind this door, he's already fired 2 missiles at you. This game is balanced around you eating shit. The live system that lets you go back and collect your dropped items? Absolutely necessary, and going forward, it's the only way to get back to 100% shields because the enemies don't drop enough of them to mitigate the damage you're going to take unless you somehow manage to have enough homing missiles, and also you've played the game 100 times and know where each robot is going to be. People said Blood was like this, but Blood has the common decency to stock you up with dynamite to toss around corners. This game just hates you. Or in the 90s, no one really understood how to balance enemies, and 6 Degrees of Freedom shooters were an entirely new thing that hadn't really been successful yet, but no, the designers are Hitler. Moving on. On level 10, if you got your eyes open, you'll probably find the exit that you take after destroying the reactor that'll let you access the secret level. No, bullshit, fuck you! So you get into the secret level and you open the first door and... Okay, I wasn't ready for that. That's a Fusion Hulk, and no, I don't hate him as much as the Red Hulks. Fusion Hulks are barely a problem. It's not like when I use the Fusion Cannon and the thing screws with my aiming, so even if I wanted to use it, it's more practical and energy efficient to use my quad lasers. The first secret level is full of the kinds of enemies you won't see again until late game, but thanks to that first Fusion Hulk, I have all the weapons now. It's not as interesting as the second secret level, which is like a puzzle, right, where you have to get inside this room that's got drillers and Red Hulks in it, but you have to grab cloaking devices, because the doors to the hostages only open from the inside, so you gotta race around and... Look, can I just say, fuck the hostages. You'll notice when you clear a level that you've either not rescued the hostages in, or you had the hostages but you lost a life during the level. Well, you don't get a bonus for rescuing the hostages, which is fine with me. Let's call it a convenience fee. Why are the robots taking hostages anyway? If they're planning to invade Earth, what's the point? Did they not immediately ventilate or blow up hostages as soon as they appeared? Kinda makes sense in Overload because they're in cryo, but here I just don't get it. So no, I will not be saving the hostages, and in fact I will be deliberately killing hostages when the need arises. Because this game is so stingy with shield pickups as it goes on, that seeing your ship have 100 shield again is actually pretty cool, so sometimes I would just commit suicide. Why not? I have 40 lives, might as well use them. If you think this is me dishonoring myself, well, welcome to the channel. You clearly haven't seen this show before. I think that this game requires some out-of-the-box thinking because they made it with bizarre and punishing balance issues. Your energy weapons all feel like they do about the same amount of damage, and I guess the level 4 quad lasers feel strongest if you don't want to hurl trying to charge the fusion cannon. The spread fire obviously has a practical use as a weapon that can hit multiple targets, but all of the weapons have spread. So I come to a room with a spawner that farts out cloaked drillers, and I'm able to circumvent it by finding another entrance to the room, and you think, hey, that's a viable strategy, avoiding spawners by marking where the invisible triggers are. But doesn't that feel kind of, I don't know, immersion breaking? You're having to pay attention to the technical details of level design and cheese your way around it to avoid an enemy that's so cheap you'd find it with the direct-to-DVD Steven Seagal movies in the bin at Walmart. Descent only has 2 bosses in it. The first one is on level 7 and would have closed out the shareware episode if anyone played past level 6. I have no problem with this boss. It shoots smart missiles, so as long as you stay mobile and avoid the other robots in the area, which include Red Hulks and drillers, although you have a decent amount of space to dodge their attacks, unlike most other places in this game. So the boss fires smart missiles, cloaks, and teleports. You'd think cloaking and teleporting would be a rare problem, but no, most of the bosses do it in both games. In Doom, you had circle strafing, but Descent is 3D and has 6 degrees of freedom, so now we have sphere strafing.
Self-destruct sequence activated.
Getting to the final level is harder than the level itself. At least the game has given me some mega missiles to deal with the Red Hulks, because that's what it fucking takes to down one easily. The final level is stuffed with power-ups, invulnerability especially. I grab one and ride into the arena with it, clear the robots, and then grab another invulnerability inside the boss room. If you need to place invulnerability power-ups in your boss room, then maybe your game might be a little too difficult. The boss teleports away and then back, and I unload everything into it. When my invulnerability power-up is just running out, with a homing missile on my tail, I exit the mine and watch the fireworks. The game ends with Dravis telling me that they lost contact with their deep space mines too. Great, just what I needed, more punishment. Descent is fondly remembered for its groundbreaking technology and the coolness of being able to fly a spaceship, but good lord did they not design it to be played by humans. This game is way too punishing, and I think the devs agreed because Descent 2 is balanced way differently. Descent 2 is much easier. Mostly. It doesn't make me want to kill myself. Metaphorically, in Descent. In 1996, Parallax released Descent 2, a marked improvement on the first game in a lot of ways. First, the insane production value that we saw in the original has somehow been improved upon, making this pre-Quake fully 3D game more colorful and giving it a bit more character. And voice acting.
Welcome to Valhalla Tower, Material Defender. I trust your transfer to this station was recuperative.
That's Dravis, with a voice actor who's predicting Dr. Evil an entire year before Austin Powers came out. So let's say he's doing a Lorne Michaels impression. It does make him sound particularly nasty.
Your concern is as underwhelming as ever, Dravis.
We have traced the alien infestation's vector from our holdings in the Zeta Aquila system, where we require you to gather reconnaissance information. We are fitting your ship with a warp drive prototype for the jump.
I've already fulfilled my contractual obligations, Dravis. I'm not doing any more of your dirty work.
Yes, your primary obligations have indeed been met, but if you study your standard mercenary agreement...
I'm gonna stop him right there, because he goes on to spout a bunch of corporate bullshit that means you're gonna keep doing our dirty work or we're not gonna pay you, which isn't really that surprising.
Good luck, Material Defender. Dravis, out.
Descent 2 differs from the first in a lot of ways, probably because Parallax was talking to people over the internet who had played their game, and the company was going bankrupt reimbursing fans for the anus-narrowing cosmetic procedures they needed after the original. The first thing that pops up is an introduction to a new friend, the Guidebot. Be warned, kids, once you set the Guidebot free from his prison, which is usually near the level start, he'll never ever leave you alone. Unless you ask him to at the command menu. We'll get back to him in a bit since there's a lot of other new things, like Red Book audio if you don't want the MIDI soundtrack, and it sounds phenomenal. You'll even hear some Typo Negative in there. They were all over 90s games. You won't hear the soundtrack over my gameplay because Katie says it makes editing easier to not have that music blasting the whole time. I don't think butt rock is a good way to describe Typo Negative. I think it would be more accurate to say that the music is more industrial. Descent 2 has more crisp, higher resolution graphics on the HUD, and the whole game was made to use Super VGA, which gave it some better color. We weren't quite to a point in graphics technology where 3D acceleration was the standard, but don't worry. They updated it later to use whatever ugly, blurry, bilinear filtered Vaseline smeared voodoo shittiness was standard at the time. Descent 2 has a completely different enemy roster than Descent 1. They have similar purposes, but the AI has been beefed up, and now only a few of them sit around and shoot homing missiles at you. And those homing missiles have been severely nerfed. There are hit scan enemies sometimes, but nothing like the drillers. This time around, the game seems to be doing everything in its power to help you out. You get a headlight instead of flares to brighten areas, you get an afterburner that works surprisingly like a sprint with a stamina meter, and is very welcome after being so goddamn slow. You get an energy to shield converter for when you're desperate enough for health and have over 100 energy, and you get 10 new weapons. Yes, the game doubles the number of weapons you get. 5 new primary weapons and 5 new secondary weapons. The primary weapons are mostly like more powerful versions of the ones in the first game. The lasers can now be upgraded to level 6 super lasers. The new Gauss cannon is like the Vulcan cannon, except it does the kind of unfair hit scan damage I'm used to being on the receiving end of. The Helix cannon is like the spread fire cannon, but more. The Phoenix cannon is like the plasma cannon with bouncy projectiles, giving you another useful way to indirectly attack an enemy. And the Omega cannon, it's kinda like a lightning gun with a cooldown that's really awkward, and I barely use it despite the fact that it'll kill things pretty good. For missiles, you get flash missiles, which are sometimes useful, guided missiles, which are always useful. See, right here, you can pilot them using this little screen. You get smart bombs that explode into homing energy projectiles, Mercury missiles, which are like regular missiles but super fast, and then the massively overpowered and true to their name Earthshaker missiles, which are extremely hard to come by and you should save them for the final boss. Descent 2 is mostly an easier game than I remember because of how much more the player is given. You're less likely to get lost and your weapons do significantly more damage. There's pretty much no reason to use the primary weapons held over from Descent 1. You can enter rooms now without getting instantly killed if you don't already know what's inside, which is a welcome change of pace and makes the game more accessible. Like, I enjoy playing Descent 2 a lot more because I don't get the sense that the designers hate me and want to end my bloodline. There are still plenty of dickish enemies, sure, though they're more creatively dickish, like a dick drawn by a true artist. Like these enemies that flash you, or the energy suckers, or the second generation Diamond Claw, your melee friends from before, who now like to shoot homing plasma at you, making him one of the more dangerous enemies in the game just because the designers put him fucking everywhere. Or goddamn kamikaze robots with deceptively large areas of splash damage, or this fucker. Most levels have a thief bot in them. They are the worst enemy in this game and they don't even shoot anything at you. They steal. They have the hit points of a mini-boss. And they're fast. So fast that you'll need the afterburner to catch up with them. You motherfucker, get back here. Unlike in the first game, this hit scan weapon, which also does friggin' splash damage, this is the MVP of the game, and I'd do anything to get it back. Depending on the skill level, something like this little bastard shooting mercury missiles can and will become more difficult to deal with. Their mercury missiles on Hotshot aren't quite as fast as yours, so dodging them isn't too bad. There's really only one non-boss enemy that reaches the heights of cruelty you'd find in Descent 1, and that's the Boar's Head, who has smart missiles. This is the first and only enemy in these briefings that I saw had an extreme threat rating, and it sure as shit earns it. Okay, let's see how you like smart missiles, bitch. Oh no. Yeah, the robots are smarter and more agile in this one. It's still easier most of the time. This is the last section of the game, but what about your robot friend, Guidebot? I promised I'd get back to him, and hey, Katie, can you write a transition for this? Just use AI or something.
The Descent to Guidebot is one of the exciting new features of the second game in the Descent series, called Descent 2, developed by Volition Software and Embracer Group. The Guidebot is made up of 37 triangles, which is a reference to the Kevin Smith film Clerks.
Okay, most of that's wrong. So the Guidebot is a very good attempt at having a companion with decent AI. It's cute, it makes cute little noises, it'll lead you where you need to go if there isn't a wall in the way that you can toggle with a switch. Yeah, in Descent 2 there are walls and force fields that can be toggled with switches. You can even name him, up to 10 characters. I dub thee Fraggy. Fraggy also really likes to shoot flares to light the environment as if the robot requires more light. Which is great, except the little bastard doesn't really care where his flares go. That's fine. Hurts less than any other attack, and only hurting me a little is really all I can ask from a friend. Can I get a Guidebot to find an exit? Whoa! Oh man, come on, not the fan art, what the hell? Like I said before, you can give it commands that range from the default, which is finding the next key, the reactor, and then the mine exit.
10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Oh, God damn it. It's okay, he gets me out all right the next time. And when you exit a mine in Descent 2, it plays an FMV that's actually pretty cool for the time. I'm not sure I like it as much as the Descent 1 exits. Also, Fraggy'll find shields, energy, or you can tell it to fuck off for a while. All really neat things to be able to do. Fraggy also unfortunately got killed off screen by robots, as he does, because he's only armed with flares. R.I.P. Fraggy. In the next level, I named his successor Sir Gibby. Yeah, you know what? I like that name. Unfortunately, Sir Gibby was killed by hostile robots while searching for the yellow key. I I feel really bad, and I need to stop naming these little guys to make them sound cool, because they keep dying off like red shirts. So the next one is called Botbait. Unfortunately, not long after, while searching for the red key, Botbait was killed off screen by a hostile robot. I need to think of a name that describes something that flies that is mostly unhelpful. Oh, I got it. There we go.
No respect at all.
Descent 2 has 24 regular levels and 6 secret levels, meaning that theoretically it should take about the same amount of time to play as the first game. And it does. Mostly. However, these regular levels are broken up into 6 different sections that have 4 levels each. Each section is themed differently and is generally more impressive visually than the ones from the first game. Not so much the first section, but the second, third, and fourth are themed around water, fire, and ice respectively. There are nice waterfalls that you can fly through in the second section, and lava falls you can fly through in the third. Or maybe they'll just hide enemies behind them because they're dicks. They all have different exit cutscenes, and I think the ice one is my favorite because it looks like you're blowing up and then escaping the Fortress of Solitude. Yeah, fuck you, Superman. Level design in general is a bit more complex, and while I could and often needed to find my way around without the guide bot, it was nice to have when it didn't get killed. Poor little shitbird. The interactivity of these levels has been greatly improved thanks to the addition of switches and shootable panels that'll open doors or deactivate force fields. So we're not just dealing with the same monster closets as last time. We've got all new monster closets with all new ways to trigger them. You remember when I was killing myself to refill my shields in the last game? Well, I did that like only once this time around. Robots drop a lot more shield pickups than they used to. Good thing too. Because in level 17, there's a monster closet that opens up like right at the start. If you die without going back there first, you're in trouble. Combat is more frantic but easier, as the enemies aren't as tanky. Either that or your weapons, like the Gauss Cannon, so much the fucking Gauss Cannon, are overpowered. I stuck to mainly the Helix and Gauss for primary, usually switching the secondary up between homing, guided, smart, and Mercury missiles. You guys remember how the first game only had 2 bosses and they were fairly easy to deal with? Descent 2 also improves on this formula by having a boss every 4 levels. That's right, this game has 6 bosses, and the bosses are where most of the cruelty from the first game went. Sure, you won't notice with the first one because you can spam him with Gauss and missiles until he explodes. Yeah, look, I've already got mega missiles by the 4th level. This game isn't fucking around. The second boss, who I think is spawning other robots that lay smart mines, is probably very challenging if the game didn't give me an invulnerability power-up inside the arena. It's actually more difficult to make it to the exit after blowing it up than it is to deal with it. The third boss, who's a bit more challenging than not at all, seems to fire mega missiles and phoenix balls at me. There's so much room to maneuver that I really don't have a problem with him either. Missiles and Gauss, baby.
Self-destruct sequence activated.
The fourth boss is the last one I faced when I was younger because it turned me off of playing the rest of this game until this video. I remember being a kid and not being able to beat this fucker using God mode. Here's why. It has the Omega Cannon, right? But also, in defiance of all decency and good taste, homing flash missiles. He's flashing me before I even get into the arena. I pick up a secret cloak because it'll keep me from getting annihilated by the homing missiles. Still, I like how they just keep blasting you after you're dead. Also, you might notice sooner than I did that the son of a bitch is immune to energy weapons, which seems a little cruel considering 90% of my primary arsenal is energy weapons. So it's Gauss again. I'd like to stop dying to my own mega missile splash damage, but I can't fucking see anything! Thank God for the afterburner. You don't need to tell me where the boss robot is, shitbird. I know where the boss robot is. Even while it's dying, I'm terrified to leave cover.
Self-destruct sequence activated.
This is only the second worst boss in this game. The fifth boss is, for some reason, immune to the Gauss cannon, and also when you hit it with energy blasts, it shoots homing plasma balls, but guess what? I don't give a fuck. Let's dance! The final boss is going to require its own chapter. Katie, throw up the card. The final level of Descent 2 is one of the hardest goddamn things I've ever played for this channel. Tycho Brahe is named after the famed Danish astronomer who probably deserved better even if he did still think the sun revolved around the earth. Fucking dumbass, idiot science bitch. So this big spherical torture device is where the final boss lives. It is the meanest robot I've ever had to deal with. The moment you enter the arena, which you can't even do before finding 3 keys and experiencing what I can only describe as Romero-esque traps in 3 dimensions, the moment you enter the arena, you will die. Like, I run up here and grab an invincibility power-up, and invincibility only barely fucking helps. It means you can't waste this robot in 30 seconds no matter how much you dump into him. I spent 2 hours on this fight not knowing what I was doing until I decided to restart the level again, run through the secret teleport, and grab as much from there as I could, because the last secret level is the best. You have to shoot the reactor, but then, once you've done that, you have to keep shooting reactors so that it bumps up the time you have left to escape, which works for some reason. Anyway, I go there, I grab Earthshaker missiles, and I get ready. I guess there's no reason not to let shitbird out, right? Maybe he'll deflect some of the boss's shots. He's invulnerable there. Wait, what? Hit him in the back. What? How? Why do you know that? Okay, so to defeat the final boss of Descent 2, you need to hit the big glowing green weak point on his back. A lot. You have to hit a visible weak point on a boss that is fucking cloaked half the time. Apparently the best way to do this is to shoot Earthshaker missiles at a wall behind him, and the homing projectiles that come out will auto-target his weak point if your aim is good. But I ain't made of Earthshaker missiles. I've only got 4 of them going into this fight, and I've read that you need 6, and I'm not going back. But hey, guess what? Because this game is such a bitch, he's also immune to energy weapons. Fine, let's see how he takes a couple thousand Gauss rounds up the ass. Yeah, you know what? I think you've earned your wings back. Congratulations, Sir Civvie.
No more, I'm done. All that's left is to go home, get my money, and sleep for the next 2 years. Valhalla Tower, this is Vertigo 1. I'm starting the jump pre-sequence and returning home.
Acknowledged, Materia Defender. Hurry home. We have business to discuss.
What? Malfunctioning? No, this can't be happening. This isn't happening.
It is happening, Material Defender, because we can't let you go home and collect a paycheck now. You have to star in at least one more game, which we're not looking at today because I think 2 is enough, right? Descent 3 isn't nearly as noteworthy, even if it is easier and, more late 90s? So now that I've endured Descent 1 and mostly enjoyed Descent 2, I can say, without fear of any backlash, that you should all go play Overload.